Yay! Oh, absolutely amazing. We're all live and everything. I need to see. I get everything up first because it's a bit slow at the moment. Sasha and Bayley stealing the show on Monday Night Raw. Hello and welcome to the LOP Radio RAW recap. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and we are live here on YouTube and also available in podcast form. Links in the description. Obviously, whilst I'm live, that's not going to happen. Links don't exist, but I'll put them in post. Links in the description, or head over to wrestlingheadlines.net. There is a post there for this show, and it'll be there and whatnot. Today, I'm going to be talking about Monday Night Raw for the first Raw recap on Lost Pain Radio in a little while. The last guys that did this, shout out to One Nation Radio's Rich Latter and James Boyd. The latter of which, James Boyd, will be joining me on Thursday to talk about NXT. So I'll be doing both Raw and NXT this week. So not always going to be by myself. But they were the last guys to give Monday Night Raw a go with the coverage here on Laws of Pain Radio or on the Laws of Pain YouTube or whatever. And covering Raw mentally broke them. So wish me the best of luck in this endeavour. Wish Imp the best in his future endeavours. Oh, it's... yes. Monday Night Raw, sometimes it breaks you. However, just to kind of like get it off the bat as well, this week was different. I will get into the show in a second. There's a few kind of like cover stuff to kind of deal with first. But with Monday Night Raw, like this week's Monday Night Raw, I actually enjoyed it. I always get that feeling when there's about 2 or 3 matches left to go, that final hour, I start to fatigue. Like, I am done. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to finish. And then it just keeps on going. And normally it's a penultimate match that hits me, and that's the one where I start to struggle. Not in this case. This time it was... Yeah, it flowed pretty well, and there was a running theme in kind of like the format of the show where they'd do a backstage bit that would set it up, and then after they set it up, we come back from break, and it's the match. Or it's the segment, or whatever. And there's a nice little thing as well where they did 2. And it was... Yeah, it was awesome. It wasn't awesome, it's a bit strong. I liked the flow of the show, where it was backstage segment, then after you've done the backstage segment, you then go straight into a match or something, so it kind of flowed really well, and then you had a couple of times that you had people interacting with others as well. There was an instance with Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy just talking in the background of an MVP Lashley walking, and then the camera pans as he walks, that's how you film it, and they were there in the background of the pan, and they continue the next bit, like it was a soap opera. You see that in soap operas quite often. Like over here, with especially hospital ones, over here we've got Holby City or Casualty, and they'll pan. You'll see have a conversation, and they will pan with them walking because their bit's done, and then after you finish the pan, then somebody else then walks into shot and you continue it as like one shot. And like WWE did that here, so it's kind of nice. It makes the world it's eroding the kind of I've called it in the past. I've criticised WWE for the passing ships. I'll get into more detail when it comes to that point in the show. But it's kind of eroding that passing ships feel, but it's by little details. And Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy just being there in the background, one of those little details. That was awesome. I keep saying awesome. It's not awesome. It's a nice little detail. But I generally enjoyed the show this week, which is great to see. Also, I'm trying new things out. I was struggling for ages for the lighting for this, because still in lockdown, still not in the best situation, still using crappy laptop camera. And I've got a very, very makeshift light that might blow up the thing, but I've got a lampshade with a light bulb in it, like just right there. So, if you're wondering how I'm lit, there we go. You don't give a crap, but maybe I'm going to see that in a second of me lifting that. I don't know why I did it. But anyway, very, very makeshift, essentially. I'm doing my best to try and make it look a bit better. So I'm lit this time, even if the background, I'm very aware the background is quite fuzzy and flickery. Trying to get my hands in the right place to show that I'm aware of it. But yeah, hopefully little details over time. This time, I'm lit. So I guess baby steps. Anyway, so I'll talk about the main event first, and then I'll kind of get to things. If you've got any questions, just put them in, and I'll hopefully answer them at some point. I've tried to figure things out as well, so I can actually see the chat as I'm reading my notes this time. Again, baby steps. Please don't mean that. Anyway, so I'll start with the main event, which requires me to talk about the opening of the show, which kicks off the show with Asuka and Sasha Banks and the contract signing. Started off red hot with Banks and Bayley brawling inside the ring with Asuka. This show right off the bat in utter chaos as Samoa Joe tries to regain control. First thought, Samoa Joe would make an amazing manager. Like, I'd hire him as my GM. I know they don't have managers anymore, but just the way he was just shouting at them to calm down and to let me do this signing. It's like, oh, that was like the essence of a fantastic general manager. Oh, it's all there. Oh, and he's got the ponytail as well now because his hair's grown out because like lockdown and everything. It's like, oh yeah, he looks badass. Anyway, then after control is kind of asserted, that's when Dolph Ziggler comes down. Number one contender for the WWE Championship at Extreme Rules, Dolph Ziggler, who calls out Big Drew McIntyre, and now we have a double contract signing, the WWE Dream. How do you improve upon a contract signing? 2 contract signings. It's amazing. Ziggler's first to talk. He got pretty generic lines like, "Whilst you were busy finding yourself, I was here. I was carrying this company. Damn it." It's like, yes, those same generic lines. Okay, fine. McIntyre, similar but a bit better. Like, always the bridesmaid and never the bride. Dolph. He allows Ziggler to pick the stipulation for Extreme Rules, which kind of, for me, that makes this fine, that this happened. It's like, okay, but yeah, fine. Dolph attempts to retort back. I can't say attempt to retort, that's too many T's. Attempt to retort back, but Asuka jumps in, and huzzah! Asuka once again, the injection of life in this show. So, if you've kind of followed me recently or on Twitter, whatever, yes, I think Asuka's fantastic and amazing. Follow me on Twitter at the Damn Impercat. That's Dam's in Damn. But yeah, Asuka, just her mannerisms, just everything. She's way she's just like, just putting up a arm pad before signing. Oh, it's fantastic. Sasha also, it's just like, I'll get that in a second. Sasha says she's going to become 2 belts Banks. Her and Bayley are taking over not just both locker rooms but the whole damn company. It's crazy how much more momentum the Raw Women's Championship has compared to the men's. Like, it'll likely be a solid match, but Dolph Ziggler's the modern day champion momentum killer for me. Like, he did it with Kofi Kingston, with Dean Ambrose. It's like, seemingly year after year, it's like, oh, we need somebody to fill in as a challenger. Oh, Seth Rollins was the guy last year. No, and Kofi. Bloody hell. So we need somebody to fill in as a decent challenger on this pay-per-view. It's like, Dolph will fit. And of course there's the recent history as well, with Dolph Ziggler and McIntyre being a team which then broke up. And it worked. It works in a narrative way, but I can never buy Dolph Ziggler as a challenger. And always the bridesmaid and never the bride is a line which would have fit Dolph Ziggler last year and the year before and the year before that. So by this point, it's like, yes, it is a line that works for the current, I guess, character of Ziggler, but I've heard it so many times it doesn't do anything for me. Compared to Asuka versus Sasha, my God, the investment difference. Oh. That said, the main event itself, as I kind of flash forward to the end, because I do want to talk about the main event first, the main event itself, I enjoyed the hell out of. Sasha Banks and Asuka have single-handedly made me give a crap about Extreme Rules. Like, how could I stretch that as far as the women's division? Oh, sorry, let me try that again. I could even stretch that as far as the women's division. Just realised I've read it completely wrong. So, yeah, well done me. With Rousey, Becky Lynch, and now Charlotte Flair all gone, like, was there anyone left who's been built up on Monday Night Raw? Like, is Nia Jax literally it when I think about it? Maybe she is. As in, not in terms of who would be a good challenger to give her a good match, because there's quite a few people on the roster that could do that. Like, we saw a fantastic singles women's match on the show itself, but they've not been built up to feel like a true contender who could possibly take the championship away. They just feel like challenger of the month, which is what Dolph Ziggler feels like. So, like, meanwhile, SmackDown, which is on this left-hand side for some reason, SmackDown has Banks and Bayley absolutely killing it. There's a similar issue where there's not really enough talent to justify a brand split. They're kind of facing challenges of the month as well, but they're amazing. Like, so especially right now, with the numbers falling by the wayside in both personal and viewers. So, like, why not? Why the hell not? Just combine the best 2 elements of either show into the best rivalry you could possibly have right now with WWE's current woes. Like, what is there to lose? Yeah. And Banks versus Asuka has me hyped as hell. Just the 2 interacting overshadowed everything else around them. Like, McIntyre versus Ziggler feels like a sideshow to the actual main event in the women. So, yeah. Like, the match was great. just to get back on track, the match was great. No downtime at all. Seemingly constantly motoring on. The intergender rules really work into its favour. When one tag's out, you immediately got a fresh injection of pace. Sasha sold Asuka's kicks like a boss. The two are so quick and fluid. The ending sequence of the two trying to lock in submissions or score pinfall, one after the other, they're simply fantastic to watch. So, highly recommend this match. Yes, definitely recommend watching it. It's an amazing match. There's quite a lot to get through, so I'm going to have to blast through. Right, just going to check if any of the questions in the comments actually my midnight. Oh, of course I'm British, so if you do send in a question, make sure you get your word order right, because I'm not going to be able to figure it out. I've not got good brain working. Can I answer these comments, or they're just comments? This is great live, especially for the podcast. And quickly, I would say no. Just to move on. Right, so I said quickly. I do apologise if more. We go backstage, and Garza's attempting to seduce a female referee, and as Zelina and Andrade appear, then Charlie walks in and asks them about the two going for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Before they can really say anything of note, Big Show's here. Right, let's get through this show from this point. I do a sigh, but again, I've already said I enjoyed the show, so I can criticise it now. That's how the internet works, right? You can preface it by saying I generally enjoyed it, and then you don't have to keep reminding people that you did when you're criticising it. Yeah, that's not how the internet. Anyway, Big Show's here, and he's a face, but he's the one who's a dick. So he's a dick to the lads, pulling rank to air his beef with Orton. Predictably, in the ring, Big Show then gets interrupted by those three people. When I say predictably, that's what I would have done, and when I saw it happen, it's just like, yes. Of course I'd be pissed about that and not just take it. Yes. Before they can really say anything... Oh no, I'm an idiot. They bat generic lines. I forgot about that bit. They bat generic lines before setting up the match, like, you can say hi to Edge and Christian for us. In the retirement home. It's so bad. Cue laugh track. Ric Flair then comes out. Like, they brought him back after the news last week. What? Like, he hypes up Orton, craps on Big Show, reminds him RKO's in peak shape whilst he's been cartooning on Netflix. Once Ric Flair's done chatting, he then leaves. It's like, you brought him back. After everything that happened, you brought him back. Why? Anyway, they once he's done, out come the Viking Raiders. So it's interruptions galore. Then it's time to move on to the actual scheduled match, I guess, because all of that is a slew of interruptions. Then we're there, so let's go for it. Yeah, cool. So Andrade and Angel Garza with Zelina Vega taking on the Viking Raiders. Garza and Andrade's rising tensions were the focal point of the match. There's blips of chemistry, but they're essentially two alpha males. If anything, Zelina Vega was the one holding the unit together. Before the break, Andrade had enough of Garza. When we came back, however, Vega had convinced the two to work together. And as things progressed, their chemistry grew. Pulling off more and more strings of offense together, ending with Andrade nailing Eric with that sick spinning elbow. Oh, it's beautiful. Before tagging in Garza, who hit the wing clipper for the win, but as soon as the bell rang, Andrade was out of there. No taking in the win, no arms raised in celebration. He just walked away, gesturing in frustration. But I was making an IT crowd reference and realised it doesn't fit. So yeah, building frustrations which would come back into the show later. Recap for Liv Morgan versus Natalya, and also Ruby's there, but Natalya's not now, so where's this going? I guess we'll find out. Iconic! That's where this is going. I love these two. They just crack me up. I know there's a huge amount of people on the... I've seen it on social medias and in comments on lawsofpain.net or wrestlingheadlines.com, and yeah, there's a lot of people who do not like the Iconics. I love them. Yeah, they just make me laugh. I was about to say especially Billy Kay, but Peyton got quite a few laughs out of me tonight as well. A nice, funny little match set up here. Ruby held her own as well. She was quite funny. Just joking about saying their catch lines like, oh, you better not. Oh, we're going to beat you up. Afterwards, after she says it. Andrade, Garza and Vega are arguing backstage. Yes, this is a slew of backstage packages. Not the first time in the night. Ric Flair approaches them and says, "Can we talk privately? I've got an idea." Which immediately my nerd wrestling production brain's just like, wait a minute, the invisible camera production becomes even more confusing. Weren't the four of them already alone? Or is the invisible camera actually, they know it's there, or do they not know it's there? Which one is it? It's like, in the end of it, who cares? It's wrestling. They were just doing a thing, so they were just teasing you for something to happen later. It's wrestling. Who cares? But it's just immediately my nerd brain started. The alarm bells went off. Like, wait a minute, no, are they alone? Are they not alone? Do they know they're not alone? How aware are they of the invisible cameras? I'm not entirely sure. But it doesn't matter. I'll happily talk about it if you tweet me. But yeah, it's a random one. Anyway, 24/7 Championship was up next. Akira Tozawa with his ninjas versus R-Truth. I'm still not sure what to make of Tozawa's new gimmick. It's pretty... It feels like racial stereotyping. He's Japanese. Give him ninjas. Have him act like a ninja. But he's charismatic as hell, and he really makes it work. Like, he is so charismatic that I enjoy watching him do all of his shtick. Like, yes. Just think this... He used to be called somebody who wasn't charismatic. It's like... That it's just like everyone who'd watched him out before WWE is like, he is amazingly charismatic. It's wait till he gets something where he can do it, and it's a weird one where it does feel a little bit like a racist character in a way, but he's so good at it. Yeah, you're finally able to see his charisma on display. So, pros and cons. This was a perfectly fine, fun bit of comedy wrestling. And is part of for the course with the 24/7 Championship. R-Truth wins with a sudden roll-up. Yes, of course. Yes, just silly back and forth and on with it we go. After the match, Tozawa's ninjas have their go of rolling up Truth, but the new champion manages to escape. So, continuing the shenanigans with R-Truth and the 24/7 Championship, he has become that championship. So kudos to him, I guess, yeah. Recap VTR play for MVV and Apollo Crews. Here I am with Gaki no Sakai references. I'm that nerdy. A quick backstage bit showing Lashley's anger at the perceived disrespect and MVP's level of respect for Crews in spite of still planning to whoop his ass. A nice bit of continuity there, being like, no, there was a reason MVP offered to manage Apollo. He genuinely sees something. But as they walk off, this is what I was talking about earlier, the camera pans across and we see Rollins and Murphy, with the former holding the stolen Mysterio mask. Small note, but little details eroding that feeling of passing ships I've previously criticised WWE for was something I felt I needed to point out. So I've said it at the start and I've said it here again. Like, short interactions that make the world feel more lived in, rather than characters roaming in a series of unrelated comic stories. So yeah, it's just a nice little progression. You don't have to do massive change all at once. You don't have to. Anyway, Rollins has a super duper important message that's like really important and stuff. But did he ask Rey Mysterio for forgiveness? No. No, of course. I mean, he did, but like, yeah, well, kinda. But it's Rey Mysterio's fault. It's Rey Mysterio's fault those actions had to be carried out. Seth Rollins is the Monday Night Messiah, the saviour of Monday Night Raw. And every time Mysterio keeps turning up to Raw, standing in the way of the greater good, Rollins will be forced to take him down, forced to break him piece by piece till there's nothing left. Yes, I love... Seth Rollins in this character has been amazing. I just love the reasoning for his actions there. That I am sorry, I'm looking for forgiveness for my actions, but you are the one stopping progression. It is your fault. I was like, oh, yes. His character is so good. Mysterio appears on the Titantron. If anything, Rollins' actions have given him an increased vigour, with the Masked Warrior now motivated to fight back against the Messiah, back with something just as heinous. I don't know if I said that word right. Aleister Black's music hits. He and Carrillo run in, and we've got ourselves a Teddy Long tag match. Player. I forgot I wrote the player bit in. To mix it up a tad, when we return from break, Rollins is chatting can't say yes word on YouTube on the mic, trying to sow in some doubt, questioning why the two keep fighting on Mysterio's behalf. Carrillo's fighting on behalf of their shared heritage and respect, Aleister Black knows a thing or two about evil, and Rollins is in an absolute excess of it. So the next match, Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy versus Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo, reaching the halfway point of the show. This match injected some energy with some great fast-paced wrestling. The chemistry between Black and Murphy is still off the charts. Could watch those two for a long time. Luckily, WWE's run the well till it's dry booking happily obliges. You have a good match, or you're bloody going to see it over, like Rey Mysterio and Andrade from last year. Like, you got a good pairing, you're going to see it a lot. You're going to see it a hell of a lot. In fact, you're going to see it so much that it wasn't just last year, it was also this year. It is on Monday Night Raw this time. So, oh, yes. You're going to see it a lot. We've got great chemistry. In this match, Murphy was the one taking a lot of offense as Rollins' disciple. Rollins was jumping in to try and swing the momentum without just simply tagging in himself. A nice little character thing. Like, as my headphones fall off. Like, quite often, you see a heel either be totally cowardly, or you see a heel try to be the one to take all of the glory himself. Like, Seth Rollins genuinely is trying to be a role example for Buddy Murphy, and for Buddy Murphy to have the opportunities to really step up. It's like, oh, it's a little heel kind of, it's little notes which make this character just so much better than a lot of the stuff you see normally. I just like it. Later on, there was an awesome powerbomb jumping knee combo from the two. A little sign they're more of a team than their opponents. Like Aleister Black and Carrillo, yes, are two talented lads on the same page, but they're not a team like the Messiah and his disciple. Rollins wins with a curb stomp. The match itself was like fast-paced back and forth. Everybody got their crap in. Yeah, a really well-positioned in the card, fast-paced tag match. Like at this point, like an hour in, like I feel like I needed this kind of match, and yes, it was perfect. It maintained my attention for the next bit as well. Like, yes, well done. There was, after the match, after Rollins hit his curb stomp on Carrillo, he and Murphy beat up Carrillo, put Mysterio's mask on him, shouting, "You want to be a hero? Heroes wear masks, don't they? Just like your hero." There you go. Black tried to make the save, but Rollins escaped and in the process hit a devastating curb stomp to Carrillo onto the steel steps before scuttling away up the ramp. Yes, oh yes. Like, you do your, like, really horrific looking act, it's steel steps, head, bang, that is quite a spot, and then you cowardly run away. It's an awesome mix. This is the issue with, like I had with Seth Rollins' first heel run, you know, without the Messiah stuff, back when he was the authority things, was he was booked to be a cowardly heel so much that it was really difficult to take him seriously as a champion. Like, as a guy who's generally fantastic in the ring, and he's holding on to his championship that way. It was kind of like a run-of-the-mill kind of feeling heel run, which is, he was great, but you can tell like the writing for it was just a bit, the creative, we're in that period where we're just entering like a real downturn, and yeah. But this run, fantastic, I love it. Then we got 5 minutes of Undertaker. Cool. Just before I go through the rest of the packages, I guess I want to say again, this was another tag team match that I've already talked about the main event. It was fast paced, everybody got their stuff in. It included those awesome Seth Rollins kind of character moments and the progression in that way. And Seth Rollins was constantly just talking to them about why you get fighting for Rey Mysterio, and trying to form a little bit of a faction there. Yeah, look, yes. Seth Rollins, right on my tree. Yeah, so then we got 5 minutes of Undertaker recapping his career with SmackDown and stuff. I didn't watch SmackDown last week. That's like the one I really struggle with in terms of, it's normally in terms of content. Of course, last week I just didn't feel like wrestling, and with the news that broke just before I went live last Thursday, and it's interesting. Anyway, backstage with Lana, who has a WeChat with Ruby Riott. Something about I couldn't even bring myself to TikTok. This is where me not watching Raw for a little while has left me a little bit in a hole. Like, this is the one where I seem to know about everything apart from this one. So I needed something about Natalya and Lana teaming up. Didn't quite know why, and now Ruby Riott somehow involved. Cool. I'll pick it up as it goes. But yeah, so that line went over my head a little bit. Like, I know she TikToks in real life, but she's just, something has made her depressed. And I know Natalya's not there. So, yeah. Anyway, she then tries to put over Natalya as a top-level talent, relating her to the best female combatants who are like right up there in WWE history, like Lita and Trish Stratus. And it's Natalya. I don't know if it was Ruby Riott was meant to take her seriously from that. It's like, oh crap, I'm in this with Natalya, she's actually a fierce competitor. They can try, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, Charlotte Flair recap from last week. All because she's not on the show doesn't mean she gets a lengthy bit explaining to you why she's not on the show. And next up, we got the shortest match on the show, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't give it my match of the week or anything like that, but I generally enjoyed it. No, yeah, seriously, I did. Peyton Royce versus Ruby Riott. Short, but not a moment wasted. Royce was working the arm from the get-go, Riott then fighting her way back in one-handed, and Billie Kay working the numbers game's distractions and just at ringside making me laugh. And the move that was all over my Twitter feed this morning, that spinning brainbuster from Peyton Royce was nice. A pun replay seemingly executed really well too. The two of them made that thing look awesome as hell. So just massive shout outs to both of them. And if that's her finisher from now on, I'm down for that. That looked awesome. It looks both devastating, and I saw before I watched the move, I saw quite a few people on my Twitter timeline just like, "Oh my god, that's quite a dangerous move." But on the replay, I was like, actually, she's as far as I can tell, she's absolutely nailed the execution. Just like bravo, just absolute bravo. But yeah, top notch match. Peyton Royce won with that spinning brainbuster, and it's kind of telling the story of maybe Ruby Riott should be listening to Lana. Maybe she does need that guidance. But this made Peyton Royce look awesome. It's part. If she'd have just won or been distractions, or your normal roll up type of thing, that might have been. I guess it's fine. Then with. Bloody hell, we're forgetting about. But then with that new finisher, that's what I'm trying to say. With that new finisher, it's awesome. She comes across as an awesome competitor who can deliver that kind of level. Yes. Yeah, anyway. Backstage with The Big Show. I've written it with loads of I's and O's, but it's midnight, you don't get it. Charlie Caruso asks if he's worried Flair might be luring him into a trap. He dares Orton to come try him, if anything, welcoming the Viper turning up. Recap of the show for the start. For the Goldfish, who seemingly watch this show because they have to recap it so much. So next we got Big Show Andrade and Angel Garza. This was another match where I saw some criticism when I was on Twitter checking my messages and everything, and it was kind of in post where I don't say in post after I'd watched the match, then went back to them. I was kind of just but context though, how many of the people complaining actually watched the match was my first thought, because after watching it. If anything, it was as much a story of the duos falling out as it was painting the big man as a dangerous force. Andrade off the bat, tricking Garza into sliding into the ring on his lonesome, laughing at the poor lad's red-chested misfortune. I've got to remember to censor myself on this bloody thing. Both of them were fully on the same page. They could have easily taken down the Giant, but their egos got in the way. Garza doing the hard work, getting Big Show down, before Andrade tagged himself in, telling his partner, "It's my moment," but, not as childishly moany like just then. Garza is the one who gives up his time, sliding out of the ring, pretty much saying, "Go on then, lad, your moment, mate." Just pissed off. And right to a chokeslam, Andrade walks 1, 2, 3, and to swing the story back into Big Show and Orton, Show then hits his patented knockout punch with an angry face. That joke would have landed if I didn't stutter it. But yeah, Big Show. It's interesting. They managed to tell the story of not Apollo. He's in the next bit. They managed to tell the story of Andrade and Angel Garza, whilst kind of then leaning into Orton and Big Show without Orton being there, and I kind of like that. It was a progression type of thing. I was fine with it, and the reason Andrade and Angel Garza lost wasn't because Big Show is better than them. They lost because they could not put their egos to the side. Yes, totally loved it. Backstage, Apollo warming up with Cedric and Ricochet by his side. R-Truth runs in, claiming to have finally escaped the ninjas. The big takeaway from this is the new nickname Richard O'Shea, which, yes, was hilarious. I love that. I love R-Truth's names for people. They always just make me laugh. But next up, we then finally go into MVP versus Apollo Crews. We saw MVP talking about it earlier. We then seen Apollo Crews talking with his friends as well. This was important to see him with Cedric Alexander and Ricochet because it leads into the next bit. So MVP, who was joined by Bobby Lashley to take on the United States champion. Crews' punishment for turning down MVP's offer last week. Apollo seemingly had the veteran's number, but Bobby Lashley was the match factor. When Crews was properly with the momentum, he climbed up onto the top rope. Lashley jumped onto the apron and MVP drove at the ropes, running high boot to the corner and a fisherman suplex for the win. Crews quickly gets to his feet. Gets to his feet, hit him back at MVP after the bell, but Lashley's quick to break it up, which brings out his amigos Richard and Cedric for the brawl. And then we come back from the break and we have an impromptu match. Bobby Lee Lashley versus Ricochet. And yes, I have written it as Bobby Lee Lashley in my notes. I did it once, it made me laugh, sticking with it. This time with both sides having ringside numbers. So Ricochet's got Cedric Alexander and Bobby Lee Lashley's got MVP. It's just that one of them was more honourable than the other. Bobby Lashley was showing his supreme strength. Ricochet made him look ginormous and strong as hell. And then Ricochet was doing his best to stay in the fight with this dominating juggernaut. An absolutely vicious ringside beatdown from Lashley. Painful suplex on the floor and painful launch into the ring post. In the ring, Lashley goes for a spear, but Ricochet collapses and Bobby smells blood. Just that entire sequence where it's just like, oh god, it feels like Ricochet, like the Brock Lesnar match where Ricochet just got absolutely destroyed, and then it comes back, and then you're like, oh god, you can just chuck him into the ring, hit his finisher, and pin him. Because both of those, like the suplex on the outside, that was bad, that felt bad enough, and then the ring post where Bobby Lashley kind of just F5'd him into the ring post, or just launched him, one of the two. It was in the carry, and then just threw him, like, my god. That was amazing. He looked scary as, not painful as hell. So you're like, yeah, he's going to hit his finisher. But Ricochet collapses. It's like, oh, he's that, yeah, get over the full Nelson. Bobby Lashley smells that blood. He goes for the full Nelson. But it's a trap. Or how did he say it in Star Wars? Trap. Ricochet fights him off and gets the man outside the ring. Dive to ringside didn't work, but when Lashley went for the ring post launch again, Ricochet slid out and head first. The big man went into the ring post. Why am I reaching weirdly like that? Ricochet then got a mighty swing of offense and momentum, moonsaults, near falls, combinations of kicks, Alexander pulling MVP off the apron as well. Like, the momentum was all with Ricochet. However, he possibly went for one too many kicks, and that was the ultimate final swing. Lashley caught the kick and locked in the full Nelson for the win, with blood dripping all over those massive pecs from a busted ear, assumably from the ring post, for an awesome, monstrous image. The blood just sometimes adds to it, and in this occasion when he was locking in that full Nelson and he just saw it dripping down on his pecs, he looked like an absolute badass. It's obviously not the same level as Becky Lynch thing, but just that little bit of blood really added to the image. Post-match, Alexander tried to jump in, but he just got destroyed himself by the full Nelson, and Bobby Lashley's put over as a monster yet again. His pairing with MVP continues to be fantastic. Yes, MVP got the win, and Bobby Lashley also got to look dominant as well, but it was the numbers game together. And now you set up Apollo Crews having friends, which you can then build on for the future. But yes, it's nice little things, and starting to question, does Pritchard and McMahon in this new era might not actually be that bad? Because I didn't watch last week, I've kind of seen notes and things, and the consensus was it was also pretty watchable last week. And this week was also pretty well-flowing and watchable. Totally for it. Yeah, if of this quality and he's slowly building, you do this level of little adding stuff, yeah, totally down for it. Great to see. We then go backstage and Ziggler gets put in his place by Sasha Banks Bayley. I forgot to mention this when I was talking about the main event. Backstage, Ziggler got absolutely put in his place by Sasha and Bayley, trying to do the normal team talk type thing, like, come on, like, I'm the man here. I'm like, if you just listen to me, you'll be able to do it. And those two women, arguably my favourite thing in WWE right now, completely crapped on them. And it was hilarious. It was fantastic. I loved it. Well done. Well done, those two. And the main event kicked ass as well, which was great to see. And I've had all the great words for that match. And I've already mentioned, in terms of the main event, I'm really hyped for Asuka versus Sasha Banks, and they're doing a really good job building to it. And Banks and Bayley are just the cream of the crop right now. There's a reason that Bayley is now at the front of the Fox of SmackDown banner. It's like, yeah, yes, I love it. Great. Awesome. Anyway, that brings me to the end of the coverage. I've absolutely blasted, that's over like 2,000 words of notes. Absolutely blasted through it. So, there was a quick comment that did flash by. What is the owner of the WWE? Rich. Rich is the owner of the WWE. Also, from James Harden, I think that Bobby's is Lashley. That doesn't make sense. I need to read this correctly. I think that Bobby's is Lashley. It's not the same thing like Big John stood. Bobby's is Lashley. Not the thing like Big John stood. I thought I made sense of that, and I haven't. I thought I had it. Yeah. But I'm buying Bobby Lashley as a monster. I'll talk about Bobby Lashley in that sense, because it kind of leads on for like the last segment we've probably talked about. I'm really buying him in his role with MVP. Like, generally, the pairing has been fantastic. They've been an awesome pairing. It's been great to watch the duo kind of just grow together and really, really build something slowly over the course of time. And it feels, and his match with Drew McIntyre, like, I was perfectly open for the WWE normal method of, let's just run this again. But to be fair, I'm happy to get in this, because you have him lose to Drew McIntyre. Instead of going the normal route of, let's just stretch this out, we need content for the summer. Instead of doing that, maybe it's the COVID world. Maybe it's all of that. But they've put Bobby Lashley back into the mid-card and put him with guys that can make him look amazing. And I felt like, yes, it's a genius idea to put him with those guys. And it's also guys who were very questionably not on the show. Like guys like Ricochet, who is so incredibly talented, yet nowhere near that card. And you're just kind of questioning, like, why? Why is that man nowhere near that card? But in this role, I guess I'm fine with it. It's just, yeah. Add it to the list of when people, as in, there's like, oh, don't worry, it'd be awesome. You wait and see, you're judging this too quickly. The Ricochet Brock Lesnar thing is just complete, that's on that list of when you say, oh, let's just wait and see. And immediately you can tell from the start, no, this is going to probably have consequences. And Brock Lesnar just killed Ricochet's momentum with that match. And to a point where he's just not on television. And he's incredibly talented. And I'm genuinely intrigued by that 365 documentary on Ricochet. It's like, well, where did they go to and how openly did they talk about stuff? Because he was doing relatively fine and just seemingly interest was lost in him and he just gone. Or just completely, like, he went up and up and up and had a match with Brock Lesnar and then just completely he wasn't on WrestleMania. He's not been on Monday Night Raw for weeks. He's been on main event. Like, they had was it Andrade versus, was it Cedric Alexander versus him? Yeah, but that was on main event, and I saw my Twitter just like, what? Why is that match on main event? Yeah. Anyway, Extreme Rules. The other question is Extreme Rules building well? And the answer kind of. I'm not really sold on Drew McIntyre Ziggler, even though it logically makes sense. Like, I'm sold on it in the fact of it's happening, the reasons why. But I'm not sold in the sense of would I buy to watch the match. Like, in that sense, the answer is no. I'm not. So, yes, it is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, there is one last piece of news. Just before I came live, the NXT there was NXT UK press conference earlier today, and more announcements were coming out about wrestlers being released. As I'm British, I feel like I kind of do need to address it. After the Speaking Out movement, today WWE have kind of, like, I don't know if the results of their investigations or they've reached a decision of what to do, and we've seen 2 referees released, Chris Roberts and the other one that also got released. They're gone. And Chris wasn't his cheese boards. He's gone. I didn't see any allegations against Chris Roberts, but if he's gone, I'm assuming there must be a reason, and I've just missed it. Yeah, I don't know. If someone wants to link me that, I've just completely missed it. But also, on top of Sasha Banks being gone, and El Ligero gone, and Jack Gallagher being gone, there's also Joe Coffey has been suspended. Seemingly they're taking this pretty seriously. But there's also no plans to cancel the brand. And they're still running this show in Dublin. It's just been postponed. They got the main event of Walter versus Finn Balor. So yeah, it's rolling along perfectly fine at NXT UK. It's not being cancelled, as was rumoured during the week of, do you just cancel it with all of this stink around it? But to be fair, it's an aura which, with work to it and actual changes in the industry, you can work to make change. And seemingly that's what the British independent scene has been doing this past week, is getting rid of the bad eggs. Not bad. That's not a phrase I want to use. Getting rid of those accused, or generally looking into it, sending it onto the police, because it is a criminal matter in some cases. And just putting it onto the right channels, and then putting more things in place. Like over here, we've got something called a DBS check, where it'll kind of go over a quick check over your history, just to make sure you wouldn't be a dangerous hire, for example. I've in real life I do supply work in terms of not in terms of equipment, in terms of I'm a supply teacher. Can't remember what it's called in America, and I've had to everywhere. I've had my DBS checked quite a few times, so I'm pretty aware of the process. But with apparently the wrestling, there isn't a DBS check. You've got full-time wrestlers training young people, and they don't get a DBS check. It's every school I've ever been to has required that I have that. Required that they get certain on the information, and it's kind of it's crazy that they were given that amount of responsibility, yet there's no overseeing body to checking them. That's scary. And Ida Dawn made a fantastic recommendation of the people kind of on the social care kind of side of things. They shouldn't be a wrestling person. They should be an actual person where that is their job, the social care part, where that is their job. It feels like that's really what needs to happen. And not forgetting, in this country as well, unions are looked at very, very differently. There isn't that massive negative corporate stink to them, as in from the point of view of the corporations. They look in America, especially, they look at them with a dirty look. Looking at unions, whilst over here it's no, there's a genuine reason for them. And so in this country, I wouldn't be surprised if something comes out of it for the wrestlers. I'm assuming there isn't one already, but at minimum something like that, where there's overseeing people just needing to put checks and balances in place now because of what happened. It's horrific what happened. It's heartbreaking what happened, and the change, it's good to see change. I've seen quite a few people say that, where it's good. It's not good that it's happened, but it's good that the change is happening. It's just wish that it hadn't happened in the first place. But at least they're acting now. Anyway, now, before I go on off a massive tangent, I did just want to mention that on NXT UK, being that I'm English, and it broke just before I came live. But this is the Monday Night Raw review. I will be back next week, because I've absolutely blasted through my notes. As I've already said, that was Monday Night Raw for the team. What did you think? Hit me up on Twitter at @thedamnimplicat. You can hit me up on the Laws of Pain website. I'll check the comments there. The comments here on YouTube as well. I'll try to remember to check them. I did just go to my last video today. It's yes, I got a response on this video from 2 weeks ago. I probably should have checked the comments. But anyway, I'll hopefully get more on top of that. And follow at Lords of Pain as well for the WrestlingHeadlines.net Twitter and all the news coming out. I will be back on Thursday with the NXT review, and I'll be joined by James Boyd of One Nation Radio, who is over on the Social Suplex Network. I'll be joined to talk about day one, or night one, of NXT, the Great American Bash. But also, live after AEW Dynamite, so it's immediately live after the show, is our AEW post-show Dynamite After Dark with Jamin and Jeff. They'll be recapping the show immediately, because they're American, they can do that. I'm English, I'm asleep. I'm not that mental. Fridays, it's Miss Fan and Mystic with the WWF The Legacy Series, an unabridged look over the history of the now WWE, with the journey of the WWF. Cannot recommend this show enough. And Tuesdays is Kingdom of Honor. I'm trying to remember what day it's on. It's Kingdom of Honor, where they're currently going over, I think, the previous TNA pay-per-views, but I think they're taking a break to cover the New Japan Cup. So that's how you got your stuff all over. I am also taking part in a collaboration column with Sir Sam and Jeremy Donovan of the Keeping It Strong Style podcast, where we are covering the New Japan Cup. The columns are up on lawsofpain.net or wrestlingheadlines.com. I've got to remember to say that. The columns are all up there, and we've been covering the Cup week to week for the New Japan Cup, choosing our 3 favourite wrestlers of the week and our 3 favourite matches. And I think at the end is like a massive score of who was the best, accumulated numbers between us as we go through the Cup. And there's a show tomorrow, so I'll be up tomorrow tweeting about that show. If you do, again, want to join at the Damn Cat, I'll be tweeting about the New Japan Cup. Then the column will come out, I think, on Saturday. Because again, it's Monday, Thursday, Friday this week. So I think that's all the stuff plugged. All Night Wrestling Long podcast, also here on the Laws of Pain YouTube. There are podcasts that are here on YouTube that won't appear on the RedCircle feed, and there's also a special RedCircle podcast that won't appear here on YouTube. It's like a interweaving thing to give a bit of variety. Anyway, with that, I say thank you for listening, watching, or whatever you're doing. It's on multiple forms. It's in multiple platforms in different ways, as I bash my mouse about. I will be back on Thursday, then I'll be back next week to talk about Raw. Thank you for listening. Tell me what you think in the comments below of Monday Night Raw. And with that, I bid you adieu. So I don't know why I'm rubbing my belly. With that, I bid you adieu. Adios. Adios.